What's up, folks? Back for another fight card prediction. It's going to be UFC Fight Night 57 from the TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts for Conor McGregor versus Dennis Siver. Your main event there. Coming off UFC 182 last night, the main man John Jones won. I thought he looked fantastic. I thought DC actually didn't look too bad after watching the fight back a few times. Cody Garbrandt, I was championing this guy this time last year. I thought he did fantastic. I thought Donald Cerrone, although he didn't get the finish, still put away Miles Jury, made him look like Jury's a few years behind where he really he needs to be. Not the best card overall, but main event saved it. On to this card, it's going to be on a Sunday night after the NFL game, so hopefully it's going to get a lot of traffic and a lot of people are going to see Conor McGregor because, let's face it, it's more than likely he's going to get a title shot against Jose Aldo, hopefully in May, hopefully in Dublin at UFC 187, so I can be there. We're going to go straight through the fights, give you some quick predictions and who I think will win. I think I went about 8-3 last night for the picks, so I'm going to tally up my picks throughout the year and see how I do. So starting off in the flyweight division, we've got Tateki Matsuda against Joby Sanchez. Matsuda, he actually comes from the Boston area. He's not a great fighter. Watched quite a bit of tape on him. Hasn't got a lot of power. Movement's kind of mediocre. He has a bit of a ground game, but he's nothing special, and he has been finished quite a bit. Joby Sanchez, second fight in the UFC, 6-1. Faced Wilson Heist last time and gave him a pretty good fight. He lost via unanimous decision, but he's got a lot more skills here than Matsuda. Matsuda's been finished, I think, 4 times by submission, while out of Joby Sanchez's 6 wins, 4 have been submissions. So I think Joby Sanchez will get this done. I think he'll get a submission here, so I'm going to go Sanchez by submission. I'm going to go 3rd round. Into the light heavyweight division, we've got Matt Van Buren against Sean O'Connell. Sean O'Connell, I thought he actually got cut by the UFC, but obviously not. Lost to Ryan Gemmo, lost to Gian Vellante. Gasses very easily after. If he doesn't get you out in the first round, I think he's got a lot of trouble. Matt Van Buren, he got knocked out by Corey Anderson in the tough finale. Big guy, rangy, but he has been knocked out quite a few times, and if Sean O'Connell can reach his chin early, I think he can take him out. I'm tempted to go Van Buren here, but I'm actually going to go O'Connell. Knockout in the first. I'm not confident in Van Buren, and his skills I think are a bit rudimental as well, so I'm going to go O'Connell, knockout in the first. Onto a fight which is a really, really good fight. It's Charles Rosa against Sean Soriano. Now, I'm a fan of Sean Soriano. He's lost his first 2 fights in the UFC. He lost to Chaz Skelly last time out, and Kawajiri beforehand he got put to sleep early this time last year in Singapore. So a guy, you know the kind of guys that come out of the Black Zillions, they've got good movement, good technical boxing, quite smooth strikers, but like kind of Abel Trujillo, they get taken down fairly easy, and they can look fairly elementary kind of down there. They don't look great down on the ground. I think Charles Rosa, he looked very, very good against Dennis Siver in Sweden last year. Came in, I think, about a week's notice, and he looked really, really up to the task. He was down the ground with a veteran of the sport, and threw up some nice submissions, hurt Dennis Siver a few times, got a nice bonus out the end of it, and he's fighting in his hometown here, so I'm going to go Charles Rosa by a decision in this one. Johnny Case against Frankie Perez. Perez is coming in here after Francisco Trevino pulled out. Perez is the guy I've actually been watching a little bit outside of the UFC. I love watching. I watch fights all the time. Ring of Combat, he was in there. He fights out of Ricardo Almeida gym, and he's a guy who's I've kind of gradually watched him come up through the ranks. He actually lost. His only losses to a guy further up in this card, and Chris Wade. I think about a year ago that happened. A guy who's got great jiu-jitsu skills, obviously coming from Ricardo Almeida's gym. He works with Sarah Longo as well, so his striking's getting a lot better all the time. But he's against Johnny Case here, who's coming off a win over Kazuki Takadome last year. Caught him with a big shot, took him down, rear naked choke in the first round, and looked spectacular, and got a great bonus out of it as well. I think Johnny Case is just a little bit too much for Perez. I think Perez in a little bit could be a really good fighter. I just don't think it's time right now. I'm going to go Johnny Case by knockout in the first. Next up we've got Paddy Holohan against Shane Howell. This is a bad matchup for Shane Howell. He's lost a lot of fights via submission. Paddy Holohan's long, he's rangy, he's going to catch him at the end of his jab, he's going to put it on his chin, and he's going to get him down to the ground, and he's going to submit him. If we saw Holohan against Chris Celidis, I think, last time out in Nova Scotia. Came out very quick, won the first round, and then he got manhandled quite a bit after that, and lost the fight. I don't think this fight's going to be as hard as that. I think he's going to get him out in the first round, so I'm going to go Paddy Holohan by submission in the first. Next up we've got Lipeng Zhang against Chris Wade. I think this is another very big mismatch. I think Chris Wade is going to win yet again. I think he's going to get a submission yet again. He's got the better wrestling, lot better footwork. He hits harder than Zhang. Zhang's got wins, I think, over Brendan O'Reilly and Wang Sai. 9-7 record. The one good thing he has got is once he gets taken down, he scrambles quite well back to his feet, gets up. He's got a really good gas tank, but apart from that, his striking's not great. He's not very technical, not much power. Attempts takedowns from silly positions I've seen. And I think Chris Wade, we saw last time out against Rosa, he hit him with a shot, got him down the ground, and then just leapt on the submission and put him to sleep, and I think he maybe got a bonus out of that. So a fighter to look out for in Chris Wade there, but I'm going to go submission in the second round. John Howard against Lawrence Larkin up in the middleweight division. Lawrence Larkin, he needs this win big time. If he doesn't win this fight, he will be... I'm still surprised he's actually fighting with the UFC. He's lost 4 of his last 5 since Strikeforce folded. With his, he lost to Carmont, Tavares, Philippou. I can't remember who his victory was against. Kamosi, that's who it was against. A really unorthodox striker, but he's just showed nothing since he's been in the UFC. John Howard back up to the welterweight division, losses to Lafleur, Ebersol. Didn't really look great in those fights. Lafleur's a talent coming up in that division, and Ebersol can always get you down and pound you, and that's what he did at UFC 178. Fighting in his hometown here, Howard, I don't think he's the better striker. I think if he gets it to the ground, he can hurt Larkin. Larkin's got good takedown defence as well. I am going to go Lawrence Larkin in this fight. I think he needs it to keep his job in the UFC, basically, before he gets cut. I like him. He's got to start showing some of the potential he had back in Strikeforce, and I'm going to go with him here in this one. Next up, we've got Cathal Pendred against Sean Spencer. Cathal last time out against Umalatov in Sweden, he didn't look great. I think he was very upset that he didn't get the finish in the fight. I expected him to have a really tough fight against Umalatov, but come out on top, which happened. I expect him to win this fight here and look a whole lot better against Spencer, who's a decent boxer, a decent grappler, but Cathal's just that little bit better, and I think he's fought the tougher guys ahead of Sean Spencer. Even over here in Europe, he's fought some decent guys as well. So I'm going to go Cathal Pendred by decision. Moving on to the main card in the Fox Sports 1, we're starting off in the lightweight division. We've got Norman Parke against Gleison Tibau. Decent fight this to start off the card. Norman Parke, great guy to meet. Always wish him the best when his fight coming up. I think he's got a really tough ask here against Gleison Tibau. Veteran, I think about 25 UFC fights, if my mind... I remember looking earlier on, it was about 25 fights. Very stocky guy, hits hard. Not the best technical strike you'll ever see, not the best movement, he just kind of stands there. He hasn't got good head movement either, what I've noticed. Throws out some good leg kicks, but he has been knocked out before. Michael Johnson caught him. Norman Parke's going to have to really pop his jab and kind of keep away from Tibau, because if Tibau gets him down, he's in for a long night. I say Parke's kind of his main attributes are decent striking, hasn't got a lot of power, but he's got enough to hurt you. He keeps you at the end of the jab. Nice leg kicks. His hand speed's decent. I just like Gleison Tibau in this fight. I think he's going to get Norman Parke down. From what I'm hearing, Norman Parke really needs this win though. But I just cannot pick him. I'm going to go Gleison Tibau by unanimous decision. We have Uriah Hall against Lewis Taylor, who's just come in for Costa Philippou. Watched a bit of tape on Lewis Taylor. Last 3 wins by guillotine choke. He's beat Joby when he was in Bellator. I think he lost back in the day in Strikeforce. I can't remember who to. So his last 3 wins via guillotine choke. He beat Brian Houston, who was a UFC veteran beforehand. Uriah Hall, the guy he was the hype trainer at the Tough season a few years back. I think it was Chael's season. Great striker, but I don't think he's got it all in between the 6 inches between his ears here. He started to show improvements. Chris Leben was on his way out. Wasn't really anything to kind of write home about, but he's got to start showing that potential he had in the show sometime soon. If he doesn't, he's not going to be in the UFC. And if he starts showing that potential, the guy's going to be, you don't want to be fighting, he's going to be maybe the Hector Lombard of the middleweight division. You don't want to face this guy if he gets stuck getting his shit together. But I like him in this fight. I think he can take out Taylor, and I'm going to go Uriah Hall via knockout in the 2nd round. On to the co-main event of the night, a really great matchup by the matchmakers of the UFC. We've got the former champion, lightweight champion, Benson Henderson, coming off that loss to Rafael dos Anjos, who got confirmed to face Anthony Pettis in March in Dallas at UFC 185. He faces off against Eddie Alvarez, the former Bellator king, who is having his 2nd fight in the UFC after his loss to Donald Cerrone at UFC 178. Benson Henderson, we all know, huge leg kicks, very stocky legs, a big lightweight body wise, great grappler. His jiu-jitsu skills are coming on. His striking's just not really evolved over the years. He does enough to kind of keep you at bay, but he likes to get the fights to the ground. He's got a very good gas tank, and he keeps on going. He's never gonna run out of gas. He's always going to be in the fight. But I think I'm not sure why he's on his way out of this kind of division. Maybe he'll move up to welterweight. Eddie Alvarez, I think he needs to win this fight a lot more than maybe what Benson Henderson does. But I can't see it. I think it's going to be a very good fight. This might be my fight of the night all the way through. I like it. It's a fight of the night contender. I found it kind of back and forth who to pick, and I'm going to go for Benson Henderson. I just think he's faced a better calibre all over really, and he's just a little bit too good for Eddie Alvarez. If you were to match these guys up back when they were champions, I would have picked Henderson all the time. I think he's just a smarter fighter, and he doesn't get hit as much as what Alvarez does. And Alvarez gets hit, he can. That's when he becomes a little bit of a lion. He tries to go for your chin a little bit too much. But after this fight, I fully expect Eddie Alvarez to make the drop to 145, where I think he could be a very dominant force down there. But not this time. I'm going to go Benson Henderson by unanimous decision. And on to the main event of the evening. The King returns, the Notorious Conor McGregor. Now I know he's got his haters out there, but the guy is class. I don't care what anybody says. And he faces Dennis Siver here. Yes, this is a match that should really never be made, especially as a main event. It is in Boston, I know that. Big Irish contingent. There's a lot of people flying over that I know that are going over at the event. It's going to be fantastic to see the Irish crowd in Boston. It's going to be a loud place. But this is just a really bad mismatch, and it's going to finish. Conor says inside 2 minutes. I reckon it can finish inside the 1st minute. I've got a lot of money on Conor McGregor here to win in the 1st round, and I'm not even nervous about losing that money because I know it's going to happen. Siver, he's got that Taekwondo karate kind of background, a veteran in the sport, fought a lot of the good guys, lost to a lot of the good guys. Beat Charles Rosa last time out. You don't go from Charles Rosa to face Conor McGregor. It just doesn't happen. The UFC want this fight to end fairly quickly so they can make Aldo McGregor and I've been saying from the get-go that Conor McGregor is going to beat Jose Aldo. If this fight happens in Dublin, I honestly think Jose Aldo will lose the fight before he even hits the cage. The fans in Ireland are absolutely rabid and support their own like nothing I've ever seen before. And if you've got 85, 90,000 people in your corner, that's going to affect you in some way or another. I really hope it does happen in Dublin. But see, this fight here, this is all Conor McGregor. This is just the Conor McGregor show. And he will win by knockout in the first round. But absolutely no doubt about it. He beat Dustin Poirier last time out. He looked good against Max Holloway. He stopped Diego Brandao. The destruction of Marcus Brimage. He's just a really fun fighter to watch. But he's just got so many. It's like John Jones. People's hate for the person just totally masks the talent that the guys have, and I hate seeing stuff like that. But I say Conor McGregor, knockout in the first round, move on to face Jose Aldo. So that's my picks for UFC Fight Night 57 from Boston. I'll be back for the UFC on Fox card from Stockholm, Sweden, where Rumble Johnson and Alexander Gustafsson headline that card. So I'll have that in about a week's time, so come back and look for that. Until then, come follow me on Twitter at BigBulba7MMA. I'm always talking MMA in there, so come follow me in there. A shout out to Cabrera, Rob, Yoss the Boss, Andy and MTL, the Parting Shot podcast guys who are fantastic, Kingdom MMA who always have been really good to me. So thanks very much for watching. I'll be back next week, and take care.